Imagine being just a teenager, yet leading thousands of soldiers into battle. This was the reality for Joan of Arc, one of history's most unexpected and unlikely heroes. She wasn't born into royalty or military training. She was a simple peasant girl from a small village. But against all odds, she became the face of a revolution, leading armies and challenging the powerful forces of her time. How did she do it? And what drove her to take on such a dangerous path? Let's explore the incredible story of Joan of Arc. Introduction to Joan's early life. Joan of Arc was born in 1412 in Domremy, a small village in northeastern France. The region was in the middle of the 100 Years' War, a brutal conflict between England and France that left villages like hers caught in the chaos. Joan grew up in a humble home, helping her family with farming and tending to livestock. But while most girls her age were focused on daily chores, Joan's life took a different turn when she began to hear what she believed were divine voices. She claimed these voices belonged to saints, urging her to save France from its enemies. For a young girl with no formal education, these visions were a powerful call to action, one that would lead her far beyond the fields of her village. A divine vision and a call to arms. At just 13 years old, Joan began to experience what she believed were visions from saints, Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. These visions urged her to take up a divine mission, to drive the English out of France and support Charles VII, the Dauphin, as the rightful king. It was an extraordinary claim, especially for a young peasant girl with no influence. But Joan's unwavering conviction was impossible to ignore. She traveled to a nearby town, where she eventually persuaded a local commander to arrange a meeting with the Dauphin, France's future king. Her journey was just beginning. Convincing the Dauphin, winning over the Dauphin was no easy task. When Joan arrived at his court, many were skeptical. How could a teenage girl claiming to hear voices be the savior of France? To test her, the Dauphin disguised himself among his courtiers, but Joan picked him out immediately, claiming she was sent by God to lead him to victory. After further questioning and testing by theologians, the Dauphin became convinced of Joan's sincerity. Against all expectations, he granted her command of a small army and entrusted her with a daunting mission: to break the English siege of Orléans, a task that seemed nearly impossible. Yet for Joan, it was the chance to prove that her calling was real. Joan arrived at Orléans in April 1429, bringing a new sense of hope to the weary French troops. Despite having no military training, her courage and belief in her divine mission inspired the soldiers. She led charge after charge, always at the front lines, urging the men to push forward. Her presence electrified the battlefield, and within just 9 days, the French forces broke through the English siege, liberating the city. It was a stunning victory that turned the tide of the 100 Years' War. Witnesses recalled Joan's unshakable faith, even after being wounded by an arrow, returning to the fight with renewed determination. Triumph and tragedy. But triumph came with a heavy price. Joan's growing influence made her a target, not just for the English, but also for rival French factions. In 1430, she was captured during a skirmish near Compiègne by the Burgundians, allies of the English. Betrayed and sold to her enemies, Joan was handed over to the English. They put her on trial for heresy, determined to discredit her and the legitimacy she brought to the French cause. The trial was harsh, designed to break her spirit, but Joan refused to renounce her visions. Despite her defiance, the outcome was predetermined, and her fate sealed. The trial and execution. Joan's trial was as brutal as it was unfair. Held in English-controlled Rouen, she faced relentless questioning by church officials determined to paint her as a heretic. Despite days of harsh interrogation, she stood firm, refusing to deny the voices she believed had guided her. Her resilience only made her captors more determined. On May 30th, 1431, at just 19 years old, Joan was sentenced to death and burned at the stake. But her death did not silence her story. Instead, It transformed her into a symbol of unyielding faith and courage. Her final words, calling upon God, left a lasting impact, making her a martyr in the eyes of many. Today, Joan of Arc stands as a powerful symbol of resilience, bravery, and conviction. Her story has inspired countless people, from military leaders to ordinary individuals seeking courage in the face of adversity. In France, she is celebrated as a national hero, with monuments and churches bearing her name. Canonized as a saint nearly 500 years after her death, Joan's legacy endures, reminding us of the power one person's belief can have on history. So what do you think? Was Joan truly chosen by a higher power, or was she simply a young woman with extraordinary resolve? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of Joan of Arc, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future history stories. And drop a comment below. Do you think Joan's visions were truly divine or a product of her time? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring history's untold stories.